get started. Yeah, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We got three wonderful teachers tonight. So we got Matt Thompson, we got Teresa, we got Amanda, and they are all, our English teachers, right? Amanda will be joining a bit late. He currently has a class going on, but he will be joining maybe in 20 minutes. Let me turn the microphone and the podium to Matt. He's going to be presenting first, followed by Teresa, and followed by Dr. Amanda. And then after all that, I'll be doing a recap, if needed, in Mandarin Chinese. All right, so without further ado, Matt, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Henry. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Matthew Thompson. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. It's always a privilege to speak to parents. I really like being able to talk to you, especially now more than ever. We used to have a great time when you could just grab me in between class or when I was trying to quickly eat a sandwich or something like that. And I feel like at the time, especially while trying to eat a sandwich, I didn't appreciate those moments quite as much as I do now. And I think that's true of a lot of things for a lot of people. And I don't know, I just really miss being able to talk to a parent or two after class. So we'll get an opportunity to do this today. I'm going to go over our itinerary. We've got this split up into 4 sections. It's really 3 sections plus questions. So the first section we're referring to as foundations. Teresa and I are going to be talking to you about what your students are going to be learning in your grade 4 through grade 12 English literature and English essay classes. The next section is referred to as mastery. We're going to have Hamada Kassam come on here, and he's going to talk to you about what you're going to learn in the more specialized writing classes. After that, we're going to discuss our spring semester. We're talking about what we're doing next. That's going to have something for everybody. And then we're going to round out with a session of questions and answers. We'll stay as late as we can. Henry, we've budgeted an hour for this. So... Sorry, Henry, you're muted. Happens to the best of us.
Ooh, I'm sorry. Always happens to me. Yeah, we're budgeting 1 hour for presentation, and then we will get to Q&A. Right, we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Hopefully everyone we can. This is not just about us talking. It's more about discussing and communicating, right? And you can tell us what you think, and then we tell you what we think.
Yeah, I want to just take this moment to warn everybody. We budget for an hour. We try to do an hour. I've got a collection of very passionate people here to talk to you about something they are passionate about. So there's a really good chance that we run over time. We'll try to get you out of here in a reasonable fashion, though. So moving on to our first section here, foundations, which I have cleverly written the phrase building habits for school and beyond. I was quite pleased with myself on that one. So what are we talking about here? Why study English? That's what we'd like to open with. We're going to go over why you study English, why you should be studying English with us, and we'll just try to take you through the details of what you're going to be getting from Linked Key. So first and foremost, why are you studying English outside of high school? My kid's already in high school, my kid's already in elementary school, they're already taking an English class, why do I have to take extra English class, right? You sign up for archery because the Ontario School Board doesn't teach your kids how to shoot arrows, and someday maybe they'll need to do that. Why teach English outside of school? First and foremost, English is mandatory. I've always thought that this was a pretty easy pitch. Your student is going to be required to take English class every single year until they finish school. No matter where they're going, it's going to be part of their transcript. It's part of their overall grade. If their English mark is bad, it's going to pull everything down. If the English mark is good, it's going to pull everything up. So I've always felt that that was one of the easier parts to sell to a parent, that no matter what, these skills will be relevant in school. But beyond high school, your English skills are going to be essential regardless of what major your student enrolls in. When you get to a university in Canada, the United States, or elsewhere, almost all majors will require what are called distribution credits. meaning that even though you've gone to this school to become an engineer or a computer programmer or a scientist, they still require you to take a philosophy or a sociology or a political science, some history, sometimes there's language distributions. I learned Italian in my first year. It didn't stick. Buongiorno, mi chiamo Matteo, come stai, and that's about where it stops. So you're required to take a little bit at the beginning, and it stays on the transcript. It's a mandatory class. It's in there all the way through. If your student ever wants to go for a PhD or a master's, they're going to have these marks hanging out. So ideally, these classes don't become misery and they don't become, a weight around their neck as they try to move through with this bad first year grade. And instead, it could be something beneficial. It should be easy, right? If you picked up philosophy 101 in first year, you had to write 3 essays. And if they went well, then you could do very, very well. Finally, we consider this class to be beneficial. No matter what field your student eventually selects for their professional life, written communication will always be valuable. Whether they're writing an email to a colleague or a new boss, or if they're communicating with a new customer, it's always better to write better. When you can impress your colleagues, when you can impress your clients, when you can pick up on the high level writing that they're giving you, people make judgments very quickly about the intelligence and the skill level of who they're talking to. And even a small slip can be enough to cost you a sale or an opportunity. This is particularly important for our students who are learning English as their second language. It's, it's an interesting thing to me. I'm going to pause for a moment on this. English as a language right now, where we stand, could become an amazing equalizing force for opportunity across the world. For people immigrating from different countries, for people working abroad, for people working remotely. You can live in Nova Scotia and e-commute to the United Kingdom, for example. And in that world, if everybody is speaking the same language and they're doing great at it, I see amazing opportunities to build bridges, to build ladders, to find new opportunities. And it concerns me when I see things like potential bosses, universities, etc., judging people who speak English as a second language harshly. It, it's simultaneously an opportunity, but also a bulwark, also a fence, also a wall. If you're trying very hard to exclude someone from your community or from your workforce, judging them harshly on their language skills is a really easy way to do it. It's going to be very difficult for the Canadian government, for example, to pass a law that stops you from hiring somebody who has poor grammar because they think you might be racist. So, no matter where your student chooses to go, especially if they're speaking English as a second language, getting them to the proficiency level of a native English speaker gets them over so many hurdles that are difficult to identify, but we know they're there. You can feel its existence in university applications, in job postings, but it's hard to put your finger directly on it. If we can get them past this hurdle, especially when they're young, the younger they are when they're picking up this language, the better chance they have to speak and write with the same proficiency as someone who's been doing it their whole lives. And if we can get them to that level, the opportunities just open up in front of them. It becomes very, very powerful. Now, why study English with us? What are we doing that makes us different? Today, we're going to hit three main categories. I'm very excited for these. The first one is enrichment. Those of you who have seen me give seminars before will be somewhat familiar with this material, but essentially, it's my belief and the belief of Link Key that there are a couple of shortfalls that currently exist in what we're referring to as mainstream education, because I don't want to just point at public education, because the private education in Ontario is teaching the same curriculum. They're doing it with nicer tools, they're doing it in nicer buildings with nicer uniforms, but ultimately they have the same underlying material and the same mandate that the public schools do. And it is our belief that right now, Ontario mainstream education is not adequately preparing students to write at the university level. Teresa went to the same university as I did, rather, the University of Toronto. So I'm sure that she can sympathize with what I'm about to talk about. When I graduated from the 12th grade, I was really good at English. I was really good at essay writing. I had really high marks. I got accepted to journalism programs that I didn't end up going to, but I had good enough marks to go to journalism school, should that have been a thing that I wanted to do. And so when I got to university, I figured I'd just keep writing the same way I did in high school and everything would be great. And the University of Toronto, in particular, prides itself in absolutely crushing its first year students. And I can recall sitting there in my Philosophy 101 tutorial after having just handed in my first ever university essay. It was an essay on Plato's Republic. I thought I did quite well. I didn't, but I thought I did quite well. And my TA walks around the room a week later and she hands back all of our essays face down. And when she puts my essay in front of me, she says, "Great job, Matt. You got the highest mark in the class." I was really excited. And I turned over my paper and it was a C plus. I had not gotten a C plus in years. And here I was, highest mark in the class, C plus. That's just how they roll at the University of Toronto. It's rough. But the fact was, I didn't know how to write. I knew how to write for a high schooler. Ontario High School teaches you to write one very particular essay over and over and over again. And I got really good at that essay. And that just doesn't fly in professional life, in scholarly life. So, yeah, I got completely annihilated. And I had a choice at that moment. I could feel bad for myself. I could start looking for an easier school, or maybe I could recognize that maybe I was the one who was wrong, not the university, and maybe I should just get good. Maybe that would be the correct option here. Maybe I should just try to improve myself. And so during this time period, Teresa had to do this too. You build relationships, you become better at writing, and what we're always trying to do at Linkkey is take techniques that made us successful at university and teach them to your students, starting as young as possible. Today, I'm going to spend a little bit more time leaning into the younger students. Teresa is going to be covering the older students, the high school experience. But what we're doing the whole way through, this is why I called it Foundations, Building Tools for Lifelong Learning, is because no matter how young you are, you can start taking steps on this journey. And the earlier you begin with this, the better you're going to do, the easier it's going to become the later you go. In particular, these shortfalls, in my opinion, the opinion of many, I think, have gotten significantly larger during COVID. I have been taking a look at the assignments of more and more of my high school students, and I've been kind of shocked by the stuff that I've been seeing. Some of you might be as well. I don't know how active a hand you take in your kids' education right now, but English class, I'm going to sound like an old man now, but back in my day in English class, we used to write essays. And I'm seeing kids get assigned podcasts, and they're having to learn how to edit audio so that they can properly make a pretend podcast about a book. Or perhaps not a book, perhaps they were just shown a movie about a book because the teachers have no ways to get the books into people's hands while they're on distance learning. I'm seeing students in grade 9 be assigned drawing projects in English class. And I have sympathy for this. We all got surprised at the start of COVID, but that was like 2 years ago. We've had a lot of time to adapt since then. And a lot of what's been happening in mainstream education is that standards have been getting lower and lower and lower because teachers are overwhelmed. Their classes are too big. They're losing weeks every single year. Quadmesters, I don't need to tell you guys about quadmesters. You've experienced trying to get your kids through quadmesters. There are a lot of new obstacles. And what I really want to stress is that at Linkkey, our standards have not gone down. We have the exact same expectations of our students every semester. We want them to be producing high quality pieces of writing that they can be proud about. Because one of the things that has not changed is the standards of our universities. So while our high schools and our elementary schools are lowering requirements, universities are standing firm exactly where they were before. So if a decade ago I was stunned by the step from high school into university, I can only imagine what it's going to be for a student who was in the 11th grade at the start of COVID, who is shipping off to university now. And they're encountering standards far higher than they've ever experienced before. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about, this semester, we're looking more at how to support our students, not just in this sort of strategy of filling in all of the gaps that are left behind, but also helping them overcome these strange new learning practices that they're going through at school. So for this semester, this is relatively new. We're going to be taking a more active hand in our students' mainstream homework. We're actually going to take a look at what our students are doing in school and offer them what support we can. Now, if they're editing a video or something, we'll do our best. You know, some of us have different proficiencies in video editing. Some of us have made YouTube videos and stuff like that before. But for the most part, what we're looking to do is to just give a little nudge in the right direction to our students. We want to take the homework that they're already working on and find ways to teach them through their homework, to use the concept they're already learning in school, build on top of that, fill in the gaps, but also help raise the mark that they're getting in school right now. If we get an extra set of eyes on something, if we get an additional proofreader, if we get additional interpretations of rubrics or extra questions that teachers are asking, your students can go so much farther in their day-to-day school experiences. When they have me or Teresa or Janil or Hamada take a look at their assignment, take a look at what they wrote, and then ask them another question that pushes them on some more analysis, that pushes them to take a deeper look at the piece of writing they're working on, we can get far better results. I want to make it clear, I am not going to write your kids' essays for them. That is not what we do here. You can find people to do that for you. They advertise it all over the place. It's popping up on WeChat, $400, I'll write your kids' finals. Those processes exist. We're not here for that. What we're here to do is teach. So it's great that we can help improve their grades, but more important than improving their grades is that we're improving their actual skills. On the concept of skills, insight. We're looking to provide parents better insight into what it is their kids actually know, what it is their students are actually learning, and what it is you need to focus on in the future. We've got some new tools to help keep parents informed of their students' progress. Teresa is going to be taking you through some of those in a few minutes. So, in front of you, I'm going to steal a sip of water while you take a look at this beautiful diagram. This is the full menu of English classes available at Linked Key. I'll take you through them quickly. We had to short form a few things to make them all fit down on one page. But we've essentially got two streams that we're looking for here. And we've put some handy dandy arrows to let you know where your student will be progressing and sort of give you an idea of how your students can take certain classes that will complement each other. Across the top here, in our, Teresa, what would you say this color is? Umber? What is this?
Slightly burnt orange, I believe.
Slightly toasted orange.
Toasted orange, I love that. Thank you.
Toasted orange. Sounds like something you might eat over the holidays. So our first block of classes right here refer to English literature. So English literature runs from grade 4 all the way through to grade 8. As you can see, we've short formed it EL. And this is helping teach your kids language skills and pairing them with literature skills. We're building a springboard to launch them into high school. So as I mentioned before, we're going to help them with their regular elementary school homework. We're going to make sure they get plenty of A's down there in grade 5 and grade 6. Everybody likes to see those. But more importantly than that, more importantly than just dancing the way their teacher tells them to dance, we're also going to help them begin to learn how to write like a university student. My grade 4s in English last semester produced higher quality writing than I would say most grade 6s across Ontario. Generally at Linked Key, we like to work ahead by about a year. So my grade 4 should be performing like grade 5s, and just lately it feels like everybody's standing still. And when I get new students come in, I can tell immediately if they've gone to Linked Key or not before, because they just feel like they're behind my returning students. So we're always making effort to accelerate that. I'll talk about that in just a moment. As they move through this section and they learn language skills, they're getting prepared to write bigger papers. By the end of grade 8, for us, they will have written a complete essay. Anybody who took grade 8 with me last semester can attest that this was not easy, but we provide a lot of support. My classroom is a fantastic place to reach and fall, because nothing bad happens to you when you fall in my class. The grades are not going to follow you into high school. No one's going to ask if you should be in the applied stream instead of the academic stream. None of that's going to go on here. Instead, you get support, you get advice, and I try to adapt my class so that your student can continue to find success at whatever pace they're going at. Once they're into high school, we're into full, professional level writing preparation. They're going to be writing full papers in grade 9, 10, 11, 12. The papers get harder as they go. So do the course texts. This brings me to the other idea about working a year ahead. A lot of the books that we assign are books that they will encounter in the Ontario curriculum, but we assign them to them early. The hope here is that if you've already gone through a full class on Othello in the 9th grade, and you get assigned Othello in the 10th grade, you're going to look like a genius because you're very well prepared on this text already. We're not always going to get it right, but the idea is if they're prepped, for example, in Shakespeare, so if I've prepared you on King Lear, you'll be relatively prepared for Macbeth. Similarly, if we prepare you on some Charles Dickens, it doesn't really matter which one you get. You're already going to be familiar with the pitfalls, the traps, the things that are difficult about reading through a book by this author. Below this, we have an interesting split on what's referred to as writing. Writing grade 5 and grade 6, that's the one that I teach, is a really enjoyable class. The way that we describe this split is passion and precision. So this split would occur right here between grade 6 and grade 7. So the grade 6s, what we look to do in this class is a form of interactive storytelling. It's a little too complicated to get into the details in this presentation because we're already 25 minutes in, believe it or not. But essentially what we do is we get together, we tell a story, we have a good time doing it, and then afterwards they write their homework. It's kind of a trick the way this class works. Students experiencing the class always kind of feel like they're getting away with something. You'll hear your kids laughing, shouting. Sometimes it gets a little bit out of hand. We got some complaints during last summer's camp that the kids were being too loud. It's fun. They enjoy themselves. And then as a trade-off, they write about what they did in class. Pages and pages and pages of it. The parents also feel like there's a bit of a trick. Suddenly their students are writing more than they've ever written in their entire lives. And you don't have to fight with them. They don't complain. They want to stay late after class. They want the story to keep going. Students get in trouble for writing late into the night because they need to get their sleep. Students get in trouble for waking up too early in the morning to continue to write. Suddenly you find that you have a class on your schedule that you don't need to fight with your student to go to. They fight with you to make sure that they get there on time. Right? Give me the laptop now, log me in, I can't miss this class, I have to get there early because it's fun, they enjoy themselves. This is all about building passion. The idea is they write large quantities of material, they get familiar with writing a lot, they get familiar with reading a lot, we build this habit early. Next comes the precision stage. This is taught by Hamada. He'll speak on this class later, but essentially what goes on in this class is instead of writing vast amounts of okay writing, they start to write very specifically. They go through a set of exercises. They start to improve common grammar mistakes. This is where we really, really get precise, where students can be very, very proud about what they produce. This continues for grade 7, grade 8, as well as grade 9, grade 10. Additionally, we have a persuasive and synthesis essay writing class, and all of these filter well into our university application essay and interview section. We take students through the process of going to university. We hold their hand as much as possible. This can be a daunting and confusing task, especially if they're applying to the United States. So we do offer programs to help them do that, in particular on personal essays and application essays, which need to be written in a very particular fashion. Additionally, we have English as a second language reading and writing classes available from grade 7 and up. Younger than that, they're mainstreamed with the students their same age. For this section, you can move in and out between literature and the ESL section. Generally, we like to keep students with people their same age. If a student is in grade 10, but they're writing at a grade 8 level, it's not beneficial to put them into a grade 8 class. It demoralizes them. The material is not interesting to them because it's too young for them. And if they're ultimately producing essays the same quality of the grade 8s, That's not really a problem for us as teachers, which brings me to this concept right over here. We have flexibility within the class. If a student is currently operating below grade level, there are tools that we can do in our small classroom settings to help raise those grades by taking a look at their actual work, but also by giving them assignments that are appropriate for their skill level and making sure they continue to grow. Likewise, if your student is above a grade level, if they're bored by what they're learning in school, we keep them at the same age level, but we challenge them. We bring them harder concepts. Most of the texts we teach can be taught at, let's take a Shakespeare, for example. Let's just stay with him. So if we're teaching King Lear, I can teach King Lear to grade 7. I'll teach it differently than I teach it to grade 12. And we can do this exact same thing within the classroom itself. We can challenge some students to drive towards deeper concepts while assisting other students in managing more basic skills. The idea here is that everybody needs to improve. I don't really care if they're improving at the same speed. I don't care if they start at the same level. This is another one of the weaknesses that we find in mainstream education right now. A teacher faced with a class of 35 students and no teaching assistants will have to teach everybody as though they're at grade level, right here. And students who are ahead get left out. Students who are behind get left behind. We don't do that at Linkkey. Now, I have a slide back here, which I've now scrolled past. There we go. This is important to address for returning students. I get this question every single semester. Are we going to learn the same books? Are we going to do the same stuff? And the answer is always no, that's boring. So how often do I teach the same book twice in a year? Never. We go at least 18 months without teaching the same book to the same group of students. We very rarely get duplicates. It happens from time to time. If it's a small enough class, talk to us, maybe we could do something about it, but we try really hard to avoid giving the same material to students in back-to-back semesters. Teresa, would you care to talk to us about our radar charts?
Would. Well, hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your evenings to attend the seminar. All of us are really appreciative of this, and thank you so much. And I wish we were able to do this in person, but because of COVID and everything, it's best that we are all safe at home. A little bit about myself, actually, for those of you guys who don't know me, my full name is Teresa Kowarski, but most of my students will actually call me T or Miss T. It's a lot easier than my actual name to pronounce. Like Matt said earlier, I am a graduate of the prestigious University of Toronto, and I graduated with high honors a couple years back. On the outside, though, I have been working on my second collection of poetry, which I will be publishing later in this year, hopefully, most likely. Fingers crossed for that. I am working also with someone at Harvard right now to attend or possibly register for their Derek Box Center of Enrichment to take a further teaching equivalent course, just to kind of buff myself up a bit. And why not? I think it'd be really fun. And of course, I'm here at Linkkey, and I can't be happier to be here if I'm being brutally honest. Talking a little bit about radar charts though, what exactly are they? It's a bit of a new concept here for Linkkey, but we're really excited to introduce it. Radar charts are a pictorial graphical representation of like multivariate data. In more layman's terms, Linkkey English teachers are really excited to introduce these charts because they readily present a very clear assessment of a variety of elements covered in an English curriculum. These will cover things like listening, comprehension, writing, grammar, all types of synchronous learning there. And even more so, these charts actually give students, they give you guys as parents, and us as teachers, this visual representation of a student's current academic status. And as the semester progresses, these students will be able to actually see how well they're doing in our classes, which is really cool. Matt, would you mind clicking our slide, please? I would love to show everyone an example of some of our radar charts. Thank you so much. So here is an example of actually one of my students, you guys. This is a grade 7 student. So this student joined, hi there, Ramana, wonderful for you to join us. The student joined Linkkey, and she's been with us for a couple of years now. She, as tested with her diagnostics, she tested with an advanced reading and vocabulary levels. In more of an academic context, the student has room for improvement, both regarding the reading and writing syncratic and semantic errors there. Throughout the winter semester of 2021, we studied in my class The Marrow Thieves by Métis author Cherie de Melaine. And the book offered students a plethora of great appropriate English vocabulary, figurative language, and devices. And it actually served also as an introduction to persuasive essay writing, which is one of the forms that we teach here at Linkkey. And more importantly, also at that, it worked in tandem with the Bildungsroman framework, or the hero's journey in many famous novels. And by the end of the semester, this student greatly improved, especially in her spelling and grammar and her critical thinking status. Here, the student improved their acquisition throughout, and especially visible is the student's material retention, their application, and their ability to utilize all these elements with little to no assistance. It was wonderful to actually see within such a short period of one semester, they progressed this far. And they were proud of themselves too. It was wonderful to actually hear back from them and say that they were excited about the class and they loved what they learned. And this is also true for multiple students, not just our younger students, but our older students. Matt, would you mind switching it, please? Thank you so much, appreciate it. So this is an example of a grade 11 student, and this was more specifically one of Janille's students. And this student joined the program with very strong scores in categories that were listed below. And his writing and literary analysis needed a little bit of improvement here, as his greatest challenge was critically analyzing literary text. And throughout the semester, they studied Emma, written by the 19th century prominent author Jane Austen. And here through Emma, they learned how to analyze these narrative techniques like third-person omniscient and its impact on how the story is both told and received. And when we're able to see the diagnosis from the beginning of the semester all the way up to the end, there is a greater improvement still in such a short amount of time. We're really excited to be introducing these charts for all of our classes throughout the semesters, as well as students will be able to access these charts whenever they feel like it. And on top of that, we will hopefully be giving them kind of circularly throughout the semester. Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it. Sorry. Apologies, everyone. It's a little blurry right now. Like, don't. What is happening? Oh, I have a thing in front of my screen, so I cannot read it. I'm trying to move some stuff everywhere.
All right.
There we go. Apologies for that, everyone. Thank you guys for waiting. Even more so exciting.
Okay, good. You're good? Go ahead.
Yeah, I see it. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Tech songs, guys. Even more like exciting also after we finish our classes is when our students are willing and offer themselves up to write these testimonials for us. This testimonial is actually from one of Matt's students in his grade 8 class and reads, "Thanks for teaching me English writing. I learned a lot that I didn't in school, and it really helped improve my writing at school. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. You're a very fun teacher, and my brother and I really enjoy listening to your interactive narrating NC voice." Oh, I love that, Matt. That is so heartwarming.
This one was written for Teresa's class. It was really amazing to be in Miss Teresa's class. She always came in the class with a big smile and her super high energy, which encouraged each one of us. I was always inspired by her brilliant lectures. She encouraged us to share our ideas bravely. I felt safe to speak and share because she told us there was no wrong answer. The things she taught us were very useful in every way. They were all creative and never made me bored for 1 second. That's impressive, Teresa. My students are definitely bored for at least 5 seconds of class. It doesn't.
Thank you.
It was very helpful to me, and I really appreciate it. I think it really helped my writing skills. Also, she won't hesitate to use her free time to help us, including our schoolwork. I was applying for universities, and she had been very nice to check my essays before I submitted them. Her generosity really made university seem less daunting to me. During the time we spent together in her classes, I felt like she was not just a teacher to us, but more like a friend. I loved her classes so much, and I was thankful to have her as my teacher.
I'm very fortunate to have the student again this semester, so I'm really excited to teach her again. Thank you so much for reading that, I appreciate it. We'll hand that back off to you, sir.
All right. Hamada, are you with us?
I am. Good evening.
Fantastic. So just tell me when you need new slides. I'll do my best over here, all right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you, Teresa, as well. Good evening, parents and students. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's a pleasure to have you in our seminar. kicking off spring 2022. I'm lucky I'm saying the year correctly for the first time in February. Right. So my name is Hamada Kassam. I have a master's, MA and PhD degrees from the University of Essex, UK. And I joined Linky in September 2019, and it has been an amazing journey ever since. We have wonderful director, Henry. I have amazing teams who we all believe that education is a lifelong process. And we are really grateful that you are here with us, and your students are returning or joining for the first time. And it makes us really pleased to have you. I've recently finished a TESOL degree as well. I want to mention something like, for me, I enjoy learning. I learn from classes at Linky as well. I always get impressed with everybody's performance, how students change performances between the beginning and end of every course. It's been just amazing. What stood out for me, by the way, is the kindness we have seen. So that has been something really, really fascinating to see, and we're really happy to continue that journey. I want to walk you through actually the writing program we have. Matt kicks off the writing courses at Linky with creative writing, which is really fascinating. That gives the spark for our young learners to start thinking and putting on paper those amazing ideas they have. Then I pick up students from him actually in terms of focusing on precision, accuracy, and writing English that is faultless or flawless actually. And as you can see, we start from writing grade 7-8, which is the first stage in a 3-stage program actually, focusing on precision. And as you can see, the course objectives in that objectives would be avoiding the most common errors in English that are costing the young learners, even the mature learners, some grades at school and university, such as run-on sentences and fragments. We try to get students to avoid those mistakes by mastering the 4 different types of sentences, which are the simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences. So that's the first thing we start with in that course. There is a research document I worked on at a university something like 5 years ago before I came as a skilled worker to Canada. And that was accumulating or gathering the biggest number of possible ways of starting sentences in English. That I researched articles, books, databases, and I came up with 50 different ways of starting sentences in English. Students, when they finish that course, they say, I don't have any writer's block anymore. I can write freely. I see now sentences in my writing that mimic what I can see in books and like publications, which is fascinating to see at that young age. So I tried to simplify college composition skills for the young learners. I was thinking I was slightly overambitious, but that has worked really beautifully ever since I joined Linky. And this is something, as you will see, mentioned in the testimonial, because students have made use of this. Many of them have printed out that documents, hung it on the wall just above their desks, and whenever they feel lacking some ideas, they just look at that one. Okay, I'm using sentence number 35, for example. Yeah, because that sounds very, very interesting. My teacher is going to like it. I'm going to get good grades for that. So that's an interesting document I share in that course. I focus, by the way, the course, like grade 7-8 focuses mainly on diction, which is the word choice, vocabulary, as you can see, like in number 4, boosting vocabulary, which is synonyms, antonyms, and collocations. Collocations are words that float within one topic. So if you think of hospital, where we get students to think of doctors, surgeons, intensive care unit, we need just to think of topical English, like how students can generate ideas within any topic or prompt they have to respond to. So vocabulary is a very significant component. We focus on that element in the course itself. We focus on the flow of writing through coherence and cohesion, how each sentence leads naturally and logically to the following sentence. and how we can use transitions, linking words effectively and faultlessly, using punctuation there as well, without making any run-on sentences. I also focus on the active, negative, and passive voices in English, which are really significant, especially the passive voice, because that's the language of academia. The more mature students become, the more able they are to produce something that is of publishable quality using the passive voice, which is the language of high school teachers and professors at universities. There's a focus on spelling, capitalization, and punctuation rules. And we are actually, besides the writing program, we're focusing every day on one of the greatest Shakespearean tragedies, which is King Lear. And we tend to focus on the majority of literary devices like characterization, themes, catalyst, climax, irony, foreshadowing. And besides focusing on drama as a literary genre, we focus on world-renowned short stories as well. For me, as a teacher, actually, my favorite literary genre is short stories. It's short, straight to the point. We learn a lot. Students appreciate it. They understand literature and they appreciate it. They see its benefit actually in expanding their world knowledge and dealing with people in real life as well. So that's the writing grade 7-8. If we could just change the slide, Matt, thank you. One testimonial, if I could go through this very quickly from a student. I attended an academic writing course at LinkedIn in fall 2021 titled Writing Grade 7-8. I think the benefit to me is that the course has given me a general idea about mastering English writing skills, such as literary devices and sentence structures. It has certainly exceeded my expectations. The most enjoyable thing in the course was short stories due to the joy and fun of reading short stories. I learned a lot about interesting literary devices, including foreshadowing and irony. The main highlight of the course is that it includes a lot of new knowledge that might not have been taught in the school. And this is something really, really important, because the vast majority of students have said this, like we never knew this at school. So we try just to get students ahead of their grades at their day school, and we try to simplify advanced skills from the high school and university education as well, and make it ready for our learners. So we want them to be different. We want to single them out from other learners in their classes. The course did improve my overall communication and writing, and it does help now at my daily school. I have found out that I don't have to use those sentences I use every time, because I have acquired new vocabulary and structures to use. I highly recommend this course as it prepares students for high school and college composition. Yeah, Matt, if you can just turn the slides well, thank you. The second stage in the writing program is writing grade 9-10. The first one was grade 7-8. As you can see, the course objectives here, we're moving from diction, word choice, and sentence structure to paragraph writing. We focus on two different ways of paragraphing here, which students can master and use alternatively, depending on how much content they want to add or to place or in a paragraph. And we actually focus on persuasive strategies, which are logos, ethos, and pathos. Greek words coming from Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, and something to do with the use of logic, the use of expertise, and the use of emotions as well. Once the students understand those things, they will find it really easy to identify pieces of evidence from sources like, oh, I see numbers here or facts. That's something that is very convincing for my reader. So I'm going to use it to support my argument. Ethos means something to do with ethics, like an expert in a certain field. This is the second most convincing piece of evidence. And pathos is when we appeal to the heart, to the emotions, rather than the logic itself. Now, we focus on very significant academic skills, actually, which are summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting, using APA and MLA citation styles. We take into consideration that the English classes are focusing on English, and therefore there is the MLA citation style, but students need the APA style for social sciences. So we tend to cater for those citation styles there. And by focusing on summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting, we are helping our young learners avoid plagiarism. We don't want them just to face any issues at school in terms of synthesizing, drawing evidence without crediting those sources. That is an academic offense, and we don't want them to face those challenges actually. So we tend to have that practice. They will learn academic skills from university or college composition books, like freshman year courses, and those have been simplified for them. We focus on the following rhetorical modes or types of writing, like descriptive paragraph, something to do with description, illustration, definition, cause and effect, persuasion, exposition, which is giving information, classification, process, and comparison contrast. Very interesting types of writing. And you can imagine the technical jargon, the language used, for example, in description and comparison, like likewise, similarly, in the same way. So we have, you see the focus, extended focus on paragraph and the types of writing in English. And besides everything that has been mentioned, we focus on another great masterpiece, this time from the United States. And this is my favorite author on the planet, Mark Twain. And we focus on his masterpiece, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and something to do with the history of slavery in the United States. And of course, there is time as well. I love short stories, I can't help it. There will be time as well for short stories. Those are selected just to suit the grade and the expectations, and to remind my students of the significance of literature as well in expanding and broadening their perspective and word knowledge. Okay, Matt, if you can just move on.
You brought up two things I'd like to comment on for a moment.
Yeah.
There are some skills that Hamada teaches that students desperately need, but don't quite understand that it's what they need. So right now they're substituting for this important lesson with online tools. The first thing that I thought of when you mentioned this was vocabulary. And Hamada's not just teaching your kids a bunch of new words, he's explaining the context in which you should use the words. And quite often, students seek to upgrade their paper by highlighting a bunch of words that they think are lowbrow words and upgrading them with the thesaurus tool. So defeated turns into annihilated, annoyed becomes antagonized. And if you're not careful, which these students are not being careful, the tool tells them these words all mean the same thing. So they just pick the one that sounds cool and they completely alter the meaning of their sentence. So your teacher doesn't know you've used this tool. Maybe they do, and they go, oh, they use a thesaurus, and they kind of ignore it, or they look at it and they conclude that you're saying something kind of crazy because it doesn't make sense to use this word in this context. The second thing that I thought of is when you were talking about teaching them proper citation, a lot of students outsource this to the internet, where they just Google MLA format, they copy and paste it, and they do their best to fit all the pieces together. And that, to me, instead of sounding crazy, that actually is crazy, because if you do that wrong, as you point out, it's an academic offense. You get a 0. You can get expelled from university for doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And people, they're just doing it. They're all just doing it. That's very freaky to me. So yes, these are very necessary skills, and right now kids are just kind of coping with the fact that these are not being taught in school right now.
And nobody wants an asterisk on their transcript grades before heading
absolutely.
to university.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like the concept of going in front of an academic tribunal, just nobody needs to go through that trauma, right? That just sounds absolutely terrible to me. And you always lose. They bring you up in trial and you have to apologize and admit you did the bad thing, or they just expel you right there. It's not something that anybody wants their students to have to go through.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt, there. Right. The third stage in the writing program is writing persuasive and synthesis essays. So we're moving on from diction, word choice, sentence structures, paragraphs, to writing full essays, actually. And we focus on two types of essays, like persuasive and synthesis. By the way, they're not mutually exclusive, like we cannot separate them from each other. You could be writing a persuasive essay when you are synthesizing. The word synthesis means that you are drawing pieces of evidence from other sources and working them out within your argument. Yeah, it's something like the conductor of an orchestra asking the violin to start playing, or then the piano or something like that. And that's that the whole symphony is a synthesis itself. So this is how it works. As you can see, the course objectives, this is a very ambitious course actually. And entering that course would necessarily mean that you have to go through grade 7, 8, and then grade 9, 10. We're focusing on the essay format and structure in terms of like introduction, body, paragraphs, and conclusion. And sometimes, later in the course, we focus on counter arguments and rebuttals. So we try to focus on how we can tell our young learners, like, not every book you see should be 100% correct. There should be, there are occasionally mistakes in any article or something like that. You have to be this, let me say, close reader. You have to be like a critical thinker as well, because there could be something called like fallacies, logical defects or something like that. So counter arguments means when you run against somebody's point of view and you try to find flaws in their argument. So here, this is actually the culmination of the writing program, as you can see. And we call it counter arguments and rebuttals. Rebuttals is when you refute somebody else's argument and you establish that argument to be fallacious or wrong by providing more recent, more reliable pieces of evidence refuting that argument. So you see where we are heading with the program itself. And we focus, by focusing on the essay, we're focusing on 6 different types of introductions, coming from a bestseller in to do with college composition. I have a chapter I usually share with my students. They love it. We focus on writing effective thesis statements. Thesis statements constitute the spines of essays. If we don't have a clear, well-written thesis statement, your reader is lost. Your reader may say, well, I don't know what's happening in this essay. Bye-bye, I'm not reading it. So we need to master that, let me say, significant element. And I've got the different types and different ways of writing thesis statements. We focus on writing effective conclusions as well. Sometimes the conclusions happen to be very boring. I know, like I was a student like 10 years ago, and I will always face that, struggle. Like, okay, what to do now with the conclusion? I've said everything up there. So there is actually a specific guide concerning writing conclusions that can be, let me say, really effective, getting the elements of persuading to a close, reminding the reader of the most significant, let me say, points mentioned in the body arguments. We again revisit logos, ethos, and pathos, but this time we take this step further by focusing on the counter arguments and rebuttals. We learn how to write diplomatically. We cannot say that somebody's argument is horrible. No, there is a diplomatic technical language we can use to refute somebody's argument. And of course, there are amazing readings which are drawn from high school and university composition books in terms of covering different topics. And I ask my students to identify pieces of evidence appealing to logos or ethos and pathos, and then to work them out for possible inclusion in their essays. So we use something called identification tags, like as Gray argues, or according to Gray, or Gray mentions that. And then we have, for example, the quotation or the summary or paraphrase, as you said, you can see in number 5. We are focusing again on APA and MLA citation styles. And we are evaluating sources in terms of reliability, authenticity. We are checking the background of writers. If somebody has an argument, who's that person? Is he, she an expert or an authority in the field, for example? Any affiliation with businesses or something like that, any bias. So we take that into consideration in evaluating sources. If those sources are reliable, we can take information from or not. And this is what I mean by working source material. If you find something in a source, how can we prepare it? In what way can we shape it to take it into the essay we're writing in terms of parentheses, what comes first, like the writer's last name, the page number, or the year of publication, things like that. Yeah. And there are 2 expectations from this ambitious course, which are 2 big submissions from the students. One is the synthesis essay, and the other one is the persuasive essay. And both of them receive full feedback from me, actually. So yeah, if we could just move on, Matt, thank you.
I wanted to take a quick second to recenter us in here on this roadmap because I probably should have done it right before you started talking. But Hamada is covering the writing grade 7 through persuasive and synthesis essay. We're now moving on to university application, essay, and interview. So I'll get you online in just a second.
So Dr. Hamanda, can you, sorry, I got a quick message from a parent, and they asked me to do a quick translation. So maybe I'll just take 2 quick minutes and do a quick recap in Mandarin Chinese.
Absolutely.
Right,
yeah.
And then you can carry on.
Okay.
我用中文啊，因为刚才有家长说能不能用中文简单的讲一下，因为刚才这个 Dr. Hamana 讲的内容很多哈。其实是这样哈 ，Matt, can you do me a favor? Can you maybe just stop sharing for real quick, and then I'll try to share something. 那我是想给大家一点点实例了，就是我想给大家看一下这个都是我们的真实的学生写的哈这个都是他们在美国大学申请的文书里面写的。那我摘了三段啊，三个部分第一行是他们的第一个版本，就是学生送过来之后他写的第一个版本啊。第二行是我们帮助他修改之后的第二个版本啊，当然有的是第三个版本啊，所以大家可以看一下这个区别了。我稍微讲一下。那讲这个之前呢，很多家长、很多这个学生都曾经问过我一个问题，就是说你的小孩考进哈佛，然后呢，你帮助很多学生进入这个美国常春藤大学，然后很多加拿大最竞争最激烈的这些大学和专业哈。那这些我们认为很成功的学生，他们有什么共同的特点没有？我给大家的答案是这样，我说他们的共同特点是他们的英语都非常好，他们的语言能力都非常好。为什么这么讲？因为如果我们去看你在高中阶段所有的课程当中有哪一门最重要啊？毫无疑问是英语，因为它不仅仅是一门课程，它更多的是一个展现、沟通、交流的工具。今天 Matt 也在讲，就是不管你将来从事任何的专业，从事任何的这种行业，哪怕是这个工程、理工等等啊，你也需要一个工具去跟其他人交流，你也需要一个工具去表达你自己的观点和你的想法，你也需要一个工具去能够独立的思考，然后让大家接受你的观点和想法啊。我把大学申请经常举一个例子，我说它很像是健美比赛，就是我们在11年级毕业之前，11年级结束之前，9到11年级结束之前，或者更早一点，7到8年级也可以啊，到11年级之间这段时间，是你在健身房去练肌肉的时间。你在健身房要通过教练的指导、训练计划、饮食计划，把你的肌肉练得非常的完整啊，很专业的。那到了12年级、11年级结束之后，你的真正的大学申请，那个时候是你展现肌肉的时候，就是你站在舞台上去展现你的肌肉。那我们所谓的这种肌肉指什么？你的学习成绩、你的课外活动、你的竞赛成绩、你的 leadership 等等啊，这个就是你的实力，这个就是你的竞争力。但是你怎么去展现？你在申请的时候，你怎么去展现你这些肌肉，然后让这些所谓的最有名的院校的招生官能够一下子把他们的眼神抓住啊，能够一下子让他们记住你的这份申请，是通过英语，是通过语言的表达。那当然，这个里面又分成2部分，一部分是书面表达，还有一部分是口头表达。书面表达最重要的组成部分就是大学申请的文书，口头表达是 interview 啊。我们今天不讲口头表达，我们今天就讲书面表达。所以 我在这个现在这个screen sharing 里面给大家看到的是，就是我们真实的学生，因为他们在申请美国这些常春藤学校的时候，他们写的 essay， 我挑了几个句子给大家看啊，因为整篇 essay 我们没有时间去讲了啊。那这个是一个开篇啊。刚才 Dr. Hamanda 讲，他做了在他读 PhD 的时候，他做了一个他的论文研究。就是说英语一共有50种开篇的方法，啊，我们今天没有办法去讲这50种到底是哪50种啊，但我给大家举例子啊，如果你觉得这一句开篇和这一句开篇哪个更好啊？第一句就是说hip hop in China as they say a thing 啊 ，hip hop 我不知道中文怎么翻，嘻哈好像是，或者是那种是不是我不太懂了，就是好像是一种音乐形式了啊，唱跳啊，然后。这有中国式的 hip hop， 有韩国 hip hop， 日本式的、美国式的等等，all of which 中国的 teenagers consume in jokes。那这个是他的开篇，我们帮他修改，帮他改进之后，他的开篇变成了 sitting in the art studio and painting a canvas with color. I thought I was creating art。啊，我坐在我的画室里面，然后我在画画，我认为我在创造艺术，但是他后面其实马上就后面要引出来，就是给我们的读者读完这句话很简单的一个开篇，你会马上很想去看他后面，因为他这句话告诉你，其实他认为他并不是在创造艺术，那他到底想说什么啊？所以这个是一个更好的一个开篇啊，他会引导你，会抓住你的注意力，然后引导你往下读啊。同样，我们看这个是他的最初上来的版本啊。As a kid, Christmas was something that always embarrassed me。啊，那我们的这个改进版啊 ，Christmas had always been a source of embarrassment for me。啊，那你觉得哪一个更好？啊，很显然第二句要比第一句好很多。然后给大家一个结尾的例子，因为大学申请开篇结尾都非常重要，当然中间也很重要，因为招生官他是通过你的写作的文书来认识你，因为只有写作的文书，他才真正能看到你的 personality， 你的个性什么，因为所有那些其他的分数，它都是硬邦邦的数字啊，你 SAT 考多少分，你在校成绩多少分，他看不到一个鲜活的一个个体的性格，所以你的文书怎么能够去吸引他？开篇结尾，所以这个结尾，我们举一个例子啊 ，I couldn't be more grateful for a reminder all year round to be kind, grateful, thoughtful, no matter the season。首先，问题啊，两个 grateful 在同样一句话中。其次，他的意思是说，不管在什么季节，我都很感谢啊，这个大家能够经常会提醒我啊，让我变得更加的这个善良，更加的这个去思考问题，更加的这个全面等等啊。那它的改进版是这样 ，I'll use it to light the path forward, even in the coldest winters。这个是他那篇主文书的最后一句话啊，翻成中文就是说，我要用它来照亮我前面的路，哪怕是在最寒冷的冬天。啊，因为它是有上下文关系，这个我们不去讲了啊。为什么要讲这个寒冷的冬天等等啊？那你觉得这两种哪一个是更好？所以好的写作，好的文书，能够为你的大学申请，我们就讲大学申请这一点啊，我们就先不去讲在校成绩，我们就讲大学申请这一点，在校成绩也是一模一样的道理。能够为你增加巨大的竞争优势，啊，这个是我想讲的。然后我们的写作课，刚才 Dr. Hamanda 有分享几个不同的写作课，可能大家一上来没有搞懂到底是哪个，我用一句话很快说一下。写作分成两部分，一个叫 passion， 一个叫 precision。passion 就是说你的创作的热情，创作的这种欲望。所以我们在小一点年龄的时候，5、6年级。 的写作课当中，更多的是培养孩子这种创作的这种热情啊、愿望，我要写，我想表达。到了7年级、8年级、9年级、10年级，和刚才很曼达讲的这个我们叫 persuasive synthesis writing， 这个进阶的 writing 的这个班的时候，我们更多的是强调或者是关注的是 precision， 就是你的写作的精准度和你的文笔的效率啊。这个我就不展开讲了啊，因为没有太多的时间。那我把话筒交回给 Dr. Hermanda。Dr. Hermanda, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Matt, if you could just continue with the slides. Thank you. I think there was a testimonial from a student, actually. Yeah, this student was an outstanding student who took the 3 courses, the 3 stages in the writing program. And he actually finished this one just this last term. And he was generous enough to write the following testimonial, which I'm tempted to read to you, actually, because he mentioned how significant it has been for him and how grades have changed positively, actually, at school. He wrote, I took the writing persuasive and synthesis essays writing class at Linkey. The class had a profound positive effect on my academic grades in relation to writing essays and crafting arguments. I learned a lot of things that I had no prior knowledge to. The most interesting part of this course was learning about logos, ethos, and pathos, because they were all very practical and were brought up in a lot of other classes and discussions. I read a lot of interesting articles and stories. I think that I have made significant improvement in sentence structures and argument making, counter arguments. The course has improved my school grades by 10%. I now score between 85 and 92 in my English class at my school. I would highly recommend it and have mentioned it to my 2 sisters who might be taking the course when they get older. So that was very, very nice to receive, actually, from this student. We're grateful to him. If we could just move on to the university application essay. Yeah. This is the culmination of our writing program, actually. Beyond the 3 stages, we tend to focus on application essays. This is the latest course we have created and tailored, actually, for students finishing high school and preparing their university application essays. I need to draw your attention to a very significant fact here. There have been many students, actually, like outstanding students, who are amazing at writing academic essays at school, who did not know that university application essays are completely different from academic essays. They are completely different because, in the sense that they don't follow the usual structure, like introduction, but the paragraphs and the conclusion. And university application essays are written mainly in the first point of view, I, because the university wants to know who you are, how you can respond to a specific prompt, or how you can pick up a topic of your own choice, and you can just, respond to or try to flesh out in an essay, reflecting on an experience you had before, a challenge you have overcome, showing your passion for something. They have specific topics, actually. We happen to teach a wonderful course. I co-teach this class with another teacher at Linkey. His name is Eric Zhu. Eric happens to be a fresh graduate from high school. I think he's like freshman student at Waterloo University, and he happens to be a scholarship winner, actually, full scholarship. And he happened to accumulate great expertise and knowledge about university applications. He applied to many universities, and he eventually just chose whatever he wanted. He got many acceptances, admissions, and eventually when he got the full scholarship from Waterloo, he opted for that amazing university. He helps a lot in terms of telling the students in the course about the process of the application itself, how they can apply for specific scholarships, what to expect, how they can narrow down the scope of programs or departments. If they want specific major, he can tell them, like, go to that university, for example. He is very helpful in that aspect, actually. I happen to focus on the samples from Harvard and Yale universities. This is 50 successful Harvard application essays, and there is something else from the road to Yale, as you can see. And students have an amazing platform, actually. It's usually like a small class where students happen to read, and they use the the classroom just to reflect on every sample, whether it is a common application essay or a supplemental. So yeah, again, I would like to emphasize the fact that university application essays are completely different. Many students have missed out on big admissions at universities because they ended up writing academic essays. So yeah, and the title, as you can see, it is Essays and Interviews. Some universities expect students to go through an interviewing process as if it is a job, like a placement or something. So students have to be ready for that. And Eric and I do our absolute best. And as you can see in the testimonial here, in getting students ready, we get samples from them and we fully edit and revise those things so that they are ready to be submitted with their applications. I'm tempted to read one of those if possible. I've got two. If I can just read one of them from Zainab, I think. I attended a writing course at Linky titled University Application Essay and Interview. The course was very beneficial, introducing me to the most effective way to write a university essay. The diligence and support provided by the teachers exceeded my expectations of the course. Both teachers provided ample advice and feedback for all the material I submitted. The personal pieces shared by Mr. Kassam and Eric during our classes were definitely a defining feature of the course. All the literary pieces that were shared showed me the caliber of writing that I can achieve. You can see from the writing itself, yeah? The most valuable part of this course were the resources shared by the teachers, specifically the grammar guides. The course also gave me a critical analytical perspective on my writing and other literary pieces. It gave me encouragement to improve my writing. Moreover, the step-by-step breakdown of academic writing provided a useful framework that I will definitely apply in the future. I will for sure recommend this course to any student looking for a guide to improve their academic writing and a guide for the university application process. So besides focusing on the application essay itself, which is different from academic writing, I happen to share academic skills that pertain to freshman, sophomore, and junior year at university when it comes to composition. So students find it really, really beneficial, and that can help them put one foot in the university educational life as well. If we can move on, Matt, thank you. Another testimonial, and here we have the final thing we offer in terms of writing, and that's something to do with the private writing classes, one-on-one. All of us actually happen to help students in terms of catering for their needs. We happen to assess everybody's performance at the beginning of every private class, and we tailor a program that pertains to every student's needs, and finding out the possible way how they can improve their grades at school. You can see, like, we get them to respond to prompts, we share academic skills, we give extensive feedback, as you can see, and we help them pay full attention to minute details in terms of writing. If I can read some of the marginal notes, like we focus on, like, as I said before, like run-on sentences, fragments, things to do with repetition of words. It's better to use like a different vocabulary so that writing becomes colorful and diverse and always absorbing. And there is also the element of precision, like no mistakes whatsoever. This necessarily means better grades at school because the student can generate the skills they learn from those private classes in terms of writing their own essays, paragraphs, what have you, at school. And eventually the ultimate goal is becoming passionate for writing. And this is something we're witnessing at the end of every private writing class we give. So this is the writing program, and that's my part actually.
Thank you very much, Hamada.
Thank you.
Yes, you can book private writing classes with most of our teachers. I can't guarantee you that all of our teachers are available at all times. There is a limited amount of time that teachers have to do private classes. I'm carrying a couple of private students right now. I have some space. I don't have space for everybody who might want private classes. So the earlier you move on those, the better. You can ask your teacher in class, hey, do you do private classes? That's not reserving a spot for a private class. You do have to talk to administration first, right? There's like a channel that you need to move through. Also, don't send me an email that says, hey, Matt, can I give you cash to teach me for private instead of talking to LinkedKey? I'm going to block you, all right? Talk to LinkedKey, go through administration. We will set up private classes. We will take care of you. I love doing private classes. We get so much benefit for individual students. All right. Teresa and I are going to absolutely fly through this last section because we are already over time. So the last section, I got chat and stuff on my screen. The last section is what we're going to be doing in spring semester. We have a set of diagnostic assignments. We usually do these in our regular classes anyway. So if you're already enrolled for one of our classes, or if you're going to be enrolled in our classes, it's business as usual. You come into the class, we hit you with a diagnostic assignment. It's really hard, and we see how you do, and we help tweak what we're going to be teaching that semester to accommodate that individual student. What's different this year is the radar charts. So we're going to be taking your diagnostic, we're going to be tracking your progress throughout the semester, and then at the end, we're going to be showing you how you did, how you've improved, and giving you recommendations on what comes next. If you are not currently enrolled in a class, or you haven't enrolled in a class before, we have set up a Google Classroom that contains a whole bunch of diagnostic tests. So you reach out to us, we give you the class code, we put you in there. If you're looking to sign up for grade 9, you take a grade 9 diagnostic test, we mark it, we give you back your results, we let you know what we think you should do, recommend what class we would take if we were you. That's also going to come equipped with, we put it into the same radar chart, what's the word I'm looking for? We put it into the same pipeline as though you were in our class normally. So as far as our tracking goes, it's as though you didn't miss a beat. So if you're showing up 2-3 weeks later, it's okay. We get your baseline, we put you in with everybody else, and then we move you through and you get the same final results that everybody else does that is representative of how well you have improved during the class. I also want to mention this. We have a year-round learning approach here at LinkedKey. So we've started in spring. Well, we are starting now in spring, I should say. So in spring, where we're currently sitting, we're closing out our current grade strong. In particular, I'm excited for the changes that we are making this semester that involve us taking a more active approach to what your kids are doing in their mainstream classrooms, because we believe that you'll be able to actually see improvement on this year's report card. And that makes me feel really good. It makes the students feel good. It makes you as parents happy. Everybody's happy if we can do that. So I'm very happy that we're going to be able to provide this service. After spring, we move into summer. Summer's super hard, high intensity acceleration into the next grade. Don't take a summer class unless you're ready for something difficult. If you're looking for something easy, you know, maybe learn roller skating. Maybe pick up a hobby or something like that. If you're looking for something hard that's a challenge, you can come to us. We will give you a challenge. When we move into the fall semester, we're going to support you during the transition to a new grade. That's a little far away, but I think it's important that everybody know that we have the entire year in sight. So people who are currently in grade 8, who've been taking grade 8 classes, there's no repeat material. We're bringing you along. We're building on skills that we've built before. Likewise, when you move from grade 8 into grade 9, we build on the skills that you learned in grade 8. If you really want to jump, you can come in the summer, but spring and fall, they work in partnership with each other. I'm going to turn this over to Teresa because we also have a new feature that we started just at the end of last year that she's lead on. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Matt. Appreciate it. And thank you also, Hamada, for all that explanation of all of your classes. It was really exciting just to kind of listen to it also just on my end. Since November 2021, everyone, we teachers have come together to write a English newsletter that we lovingly called the Inspire English Newsletter. And this newsletter is really the birth of our love for what we do for our students. We as teachers really miss the fact that we can't see you guys, we can't see our students in person, and we can't see you guys as parents in person and actually talk to you guys. So we thought, what is a great way to bring all of the classroom, bring what we've been teaching to all of our students and to your children to you guys in an easy, digestible form. And we thought a newsletter was the best idea. This newsletter brings together not just what we've been doing inside the classroom, it shows different like exemplary student work that students have brought in. We show things like free resources. You will always get book recommendations every month, everything from grade 12, grade 4 for Tuck Everlasting, all the way up to grade 12 with works like Slaughterhouse-Five or Hard Times, for example. Not only that, we love to be able to see our students get excited about these newsletters. I myself have had some of my students approach me asking to be in the newsletter, because not only does it's something for them to tell their friends and everything, but it actually looks really good for university applications. Early on, they can show that, nope, my writing was wonderful, it was strong, and it was strong enough to be in this newsletter. Universities love that stuff. So having this is giving our students something, it gives you as parents something, and it also gives us teachers something, because we actually get to brag about how amazing our students are, and that's coming straight from the heart. So this has been like a huge love project that we get really excited to publish every month. You guys can look forward to it coming to you at the end of each month, usually in the last week and the last couple days, as well as we do publish both a Mandarin and an English version of this newsletter. Hopefully, within the next couple months, we're really hoping to also archive these newsletters on our website. So we are working on that currently, but for now, all the newsletters are all digital copies, which will, which will be emailed to you guys synchronously and monthly. Thank you guys, appreciate that. Matt, I will pass back to you.
Thank you. All right, should be, yes, the last slide we got here is our beautiful book list. The book list is already up. So if you're wondering what material you are learning in each class, it's here in front of you. There are additional skills taught besides the book, but the book is always the thing I get the most questions about, right? What are we learning this semester? Everyone's worried it's going to be the same book they've already learned before. This is what we've got laid out in front of us. If there's special requests, I can like kind of accommodate them. Usually not that particular semester, but there's no harm in asking. So this is our book list. When you sign up for the classes, we give you access to it. You can get it ahead of time by talking to us. And again, it's right here. Henry, this presentation was recorded, yes?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so if you came late, get in touch with administration. They can send you access to the recording so that you can see the whole thing from start to finish. If you just loved it so much that you have to listen to it again, you can also get that access. So we're done. We're on to questions. Thank you very much, everybody. We do apologize for running a little bit late today, but I warned you. I did warn you that I have a group of passionate people talking about things they're passionate about, and they're prone to do that. So we'll now be taking questions in chat or out loud. Welcome to the 1 to 2 awkward minutes where everybody wonders, should I ask a question? Will they take my question? Is my question dumb? Am I going to get made fun of for a dumb question? While the rest of us get to sit there and go, oh my God, what if they don't ask us any questions? What if they all hated my performance? It's an interesting space to be in. And I particularly enjoy awkwardness because I teach, teenagers, and teenagers are awkward and they hate awkwardness the most. So we're just going to kind of sit in this together for a couple of moments. And if we get nothing, I'll just start asking questions.
Okay, Matt, I'm gonna do a real quick recap in Mandarin Chinese, and then we can, get to the Q&A. Can you turn the slides to the reader chart? So I'll, do a quick, recap on that one. Yeah, we got a couple questions. We'll get to the questions very shortly. 用中文讲一下，我就讲2件事情啊，很快，大概3分钟5分钟最多了，然后我们就来看大家的问题哈。2件事，我觉得语言学习英语啊，我们今天主要是讨论英语，有2个痛点。这个不仅仅是学生，我觉得我们成年人学英语也是有2个痛点。第一个痛点就是我怎么去量化，评估目前我的英语的水平和我的长板在哪里，短板在哪里。那第2个问题就是我怎么能够迅速提高 我的英语的程度和我的在校成绩啊。所以Linky 的英语教学组，我们今天看到的几位老师啊，当然还有 Janelle 我们一起呢，实际上开发了一套工具，一套方法，就是能够用数字化，然后可以可视化给大家展示目前学生们目前的英语的学习的状态和它的长板和短板。那这个我们管它叫雷达图啊。所以大家可以看一下，这个是我们一个11年级的学生。Can you go back to the grade 7 chart? I think there's one more slide. Yeah, this is the one. 这个是一个7年级的学生这是 Teresa 的学生。所以大家可以看，这是他刚刚加入我们的课程哈，左边这个 before 刚刚加入。那几个大的知识结构方面它的 reading comprehension 大概在72-73分的样子它的 writing 相对是它的长板vocabulary 词汇相对是它的长板，但是它的 critical thinking 就是它的分析和思考问题、判断的问题的能力是它的短板大概只有60多分的样子然后它的真正的这种语法部分也是它的短板大概只有50分左右。那么在 Teresa 的班1个学期之后，我们可以明显的看到它的英语的知识结构的这个雷达图一下子张开了如果最理想的情况当然是外面这一圈圆就是所有的这个我们的知识领域它都可以达到100分但是如果你看它这个图就比这个图已经明显的打开了很多，所以尤其它这2个短板就是它的 critical thinking 和 spelling grammar 这2块一下子展开了一下子拉开了，所以这个是一个非常可视的，然后可以量化的学生的一个进步所以那这个会反映在哪里？一定会反映在他的在校成绩一定会反映在他在校成绩Next page, Matt, please. 这个是我们的另外一个学生，11年级的学生所以大家也可以看到，他从这样的一个之前来上课，然后变成现在的也是他的整个的雷达图展开了所以我们很清楚的看到他们的这种进步和进展这是第一件事情，就是我们用一些量化的工具和方法，能够帮助大家去评估、测试，然后跟踪每一个学生的状态和进展。那第二件事情就是在校成绩的提高。所以整个英文教学组我们最近也是在密集开会因为春季课程明天就要开始。我们在讨论就是到底怎么样做才能够帮助学生提高这个在校成绩。所以这是我们在英语教学或者说 Linky 英语教学当中的一个重头戏那我们会帮助学生通过分析他们的在校作业，尤其是写作帮助他们提供这些写作方面的这种意见，甚至一些修改意见来很显著的帮助我们的学生真正提高在校成绩。因为最后当我们不管是大学申请，还是这些很难进的夏令营的申请，还是你最后申请奖学金成绩部分，然后刚才我也讲到了大学申请的那个地方，你的真正的表演和展现实际上就是你的英语了。所以英语是占非常非常大的一个比重。如果我们再强调一遍，这个英语可以说是我们在高中阶段一个天大的一件事情如果你的英语不好，你一定会被它拖后腿，你的整个的竞争力一定会被它拖后腿不管你将来从事任何的专业或者任何的一个学科这个是因为我没有必要把所有的内容都给大家重复一遍但是我只是把最重要的这2个地方拿出来再跟大家用中文再分享一遍。好，那我们就来到我们的 Q&A 好吧There's one question sent to me first in private. I'll read it. The question was written in Chinese, and then I'll do a quick translation. Right? 请问一下，是否有英语的 AP 课程？ 几年级学英语的 AP 比较好？除了在大学申请文书环节体现写作能力，还有什么专业对写作成绩，比如英文 AP 要求比较高？I think I'm going to do a quick translation on this question. The question is, do we offer AP English? In which grade is the best year to start, preparing and learning AP English? And the second question is, other than university application essay, are there any specific majors, university majors that requires a good English writing skills and a good AP English marks? Those are the two questions. Dr. Hamanda, if you don't mind, do you wanna talk about the AP English AP language course?
Absolutely. Thank you, Henry. Yeah, that's an additional course actually we teach at LakeKey. I've taught this course for something like 3 years now, and it happens to run in 2 different parts. Starting from September, we have the first part running all the way until Christmas break, and the second part starts from January all the way until the day or date the actual AP exam takes place in May. So students are with us for something like almost 7 months, going through the format, the structure, the expectations, practice. I give extensive feedback. Everybody should know that the AP English language and composition exam is almost 3 hours, 15 minutes. And it consists of multiple choice questions, followed by 3 response essays. The first one is synthesis essay. It comes with 5 or 6 passages that should be read and drawn evidence from. Then we have a rhetorical analysis essay, which is given also like 40 minutes. There is 40 minutes for the first essay, besides 15 minutes for reading the sources. And the final essay, which is the third one, is the persuasive essay. AP English language and composition, just like any other AP courses, is extremely significant because it can help students just get credits for college. They can skip courses when they join university. If they show they have good grades, like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5, they can be exempted from composition courses on campus. This is not to mention the amazing world knowledge, the critical thinking skills, the significant analytical skills that students develop by taking that course. I really encourage students starting from grade 9 to consider, English language composition, AP English language and composition. 9, I would say 10 even, because by the time you get the credits, you'll be ready for university and you can, finish your university journey shorter than you expected. And this is something that will help you in the short run and long run as well, because it will affect your skill set as a communicator in the future when you join the workforce.
Yeah, I'll do a quick translation. 我们有一门提供一门这个 AP 英语课程啊，叫 AP Language and Composition 啊。那大家知道 AP 考试每年只有1次啊，是在5月份，所以我们这门 AP 英语课程呢，实际上是从9月份开始了。然后呢，现在是第2个学期，就春季学期啊，马上这个明天就开始了我们春季学期啊。所以回答这位家长的问题，就是说哪个年级开始 AP 英语这门课比较好？我们如果看数字的话，多数学生是从10年级、11年级来开始这门课，但也有学生是从9年级开始，我们甚至见过学生有从8年级开始，所以要看个人的情况，因为这里面是有一些个体差异，所以很难一言断之是说到底就哪个年级就比较好啊，有的学生可以早一点，有的学生晚一点。那我建议您呢，可以让孩子来试听一下这门课啊。虽然说这门课是前半段已经讲完了，但如果孩子的基础比较好，他是有可能能跟得上啊。所以可以 让他来试听一下，然后Dr. Hamanda 会给他一个 assessment， 给他一个评估啊，然后看看他自己的感觉啊，能不能这个完全跟得上啊。如果觉得有一点挑战，那可以从明年这个早一点开始，实际上不是明年了，就是今年的9月份但是是准备明年5月份的考试啊，因为我不知道您的小孩是几年级啊，这个是这样。那除了申请文书之外，还有哪些专业对写作成绩或英文 AP 成绩要求很高？几乎所有的专业，应该讲就是大家经常会忽视说，英语是我们每天都在说的耶，孩子每天都在讲，每天都在学校学，然后这个交流也要用英语，这个还有什么一定要加强或者是说这个要补的吗？其实恰恰是这样的一个我们每天都在用的这样的一个工具有的时候反而倒是成为大家的误区所以就像我刚刚讲的，如果说在所有的这些成功的学生当中找到一个共同点，就是他们的英语、他们的写作、他们的表达能力、他们的沟通能够帮助他们扩大他们本身应该有的优势假如你原来的优势在底背的上，或者你原来优势你是一个体育专长，但是如果你的英语好的话，你可以放大你这个优势如果你的英语不好，你的表达能力、沟通能力不够强的话，其实你的优势会缩小这个就是为什么它有可能是一个放大镜，它也有可能是一个缩小镜我希望我把这个重要性能够特别跟他强调一点，因为我每一次讲到英语的时候，我都觉得不知道应该怎么能够把这个重要性传递给大家所以不管任何一个专业对英文的要求，这个大家如果有兴趣的话，我们可以接下来这个线下可以继续讨论，因为今天时间的关系我可以给大家看所有的我们过往的这些大学申请，包括大学这个美国常春藤，包括加拿大大学的这种网站上的对这个申请的这些要求，其实都可以展现出来刚才我说的这个英语的重要性There's a question from Leo. Will teacher give detailed feedback, such as the one that you showed in private writing class, in the group class, to students writing homework? I think Matt answered your question. Yes, we will explain how in a moment. Matt, you want to take this question?
Yes, I will. Before we move on, there was a second part to that question about university majors, was there not?
Yeah, I talked about that in Chinese already.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as individual feedback goes, obviously what you see from a private class is going to go above and beyond what we can do in a regular class because you're paying for an hour or more of our undivided attention. You're not competing with other people in the classroom. Having said that, each student gets individual attention in our classrooms. We get this in probably 3 different areas this semester. The first one is going to have to do with their regular schoolwork. So what we're looking to implement in our literature classes. So this is going to be grade 4 literature all the way through to grade 12 literature. The writing classes are different. Like my creative writing class, we're not talking about what they're doing in school, we're talking about what we're creating, right? Hamada is focusing on precision, he's going through his own exercise. And in our mainline English classes, we will make space at the beginning of more or less every class to find out what they're doing in their regular classes and see what we can do to help them. So if they have a piece of writing that they're about to hand in, that means that we'll be able to edit it for them. I believe this exercise is going to be beneficial to everybody in the classroom because if one student in grade 8 is making this mistake, odds are more students in grade 8 are making the same mistake. You can learn by watching your teacher co-edit with other students, and then when it becomes your turn, there's less embarrassment to it. I know everyone gets a little bit nervous about having their stuff edited in front of people, but because we're online, that's how it's going to have to be. Classes that are in person allow a teacher to walk around the room and spend a few minutes looking at something, and then I can just kind of write comments down. But when we're online, everyone's going to be seeing your work, so that will be happening. The next opportunity that you have for it is if you are writing a regular paper for us, so an essay on a book that we have assigned, we give you this kind of feedback. You get edits from the teacher. Depending on the class size, perhaps you get edits collaboratively as a group in front of people. Perhaps you just get them on the classroom. But either way, you will get to see edits. You will get to see feedback very similar to the feedback that Hamada was showing. And then the final area is that we have a system in place. This is going to vary based on teacher. I don't want to start making promises for other people, but essentially the way this last bit works is that if your student is working on an essay right now, usually the conversation goes like this. Mr. Thompson, I know the Othello essay is due 2 weeks from now, but I'm doing an essay on The Hate You Give, and I don't think I have time to do both. So what I'll do is I'll substitute their essay on The Hate You Give for my essay on Othello. We'll pull my content, we'll put their teacher's content in, and I'll edit their paper the same way I would be editing one of their classmates working on Othello, except now they get to take that paper and submit it to their to their teacher in their regular school. So those are the three main ways that we can give that level of feedback within our regular classrooms. And if you need something that goes above and beyond, private lessons are great for that, especially if you're looking to get edits like up to your deadline. That's really only possible with a one-on-one relationship. There are students right now who I can book an emergency session with because they have a paper due in 4 hours. You can't do that in a regular classroom. It's just not feasible. But one-on-one does give us the option to do that. Again, all of that stuff is kind of negotiated between a teacher and the student, but if both people's schedules allow, yeah, we can do plenty of that. We had another question in chat.
Okay, yeah, I'll do a quick, Chinese translation on this one. 这个问题是Leo 在问，是说我们会不会在课上来帮助大家像这种私教课 private lesson 一样，给大家所有的每一个学生在校内的写作部分来帮助给他们这些修改，然后帮助他们这个校内写作很简短的答案是的我们会但是我们会根据，因为我们本身我们的每一个英语课程，我们有一个标准化的大纲有一个标准化的课程进度，所以我们尽可能的能够找到一种这种平衡，就是说既可以保证我们的教学，我们 Linky 本身的教学大纲的执行和完整，同时又可以帮助大家的这种课内你的校内的这个写作的修改所以刚才Matt讲了一个方法，就是说如果大家有需要你的课内功课需要老师来帮助的话，那你可以把你的课内功课，包括你的写作部分，尤其是写作部分交给老师，那他可以把我们的 Linky 的作业，有写作部分的作业替换成你在校的这种写作作业这样呢可以帮助你的整个的在校的写作部分的修改和这个老师会给你很多这种反馈，好吗？所以简短的答案就是说我们一定会这个其实是我们今年的一个很重要的一个这个教学目标，就是帮助我们的学生提高他们的英文的在校成绩因为这个是最后英语的在校成绩在你整个的这个中学、高中乃至于大学申请阶段一个最重要的一个成绩需要展现，好吗？Okay, the next question from Christine. So a question sent it to me in private. I'll read it. This is a question in Chinese. 老师除了周四有11年级的英语课之外，还有其他时间吗？周四实在没有时间，可以在其他时间试听吗？我们英语11年级只是在周四不好意思，没有安排其他的时间。但是我们可以建议您呢，我一会儿把我们的这个整个的报名系统的网站的网址贴在下面我们可以建议您呢，可以看一看其他的班比如说如果孩子程度好的话，能不能够提前往前追1年，比如说12年级的这个英文文学课，或者是Dr. Hamanda 的写作班比如说刚才我们介绍的这个Persuasive and Synthesis 这样的一个写作班，这是一个很高端很高阶段的一个写作班所以11年级的学生应该是蛮适合的所以其他的课您可以在我们的这个教学系统里面看一下我好像没有发对地方再发一遍，这是我们的Linky 的 portal 所以您可以在这个里面找到有可能更适合孩子的课，好吗？然后 Liz, the question in Chinese again. 我女儿准备参加春季的 English Literature Grade 7。我借了书给她，但是感觉她好像对这本书不是很感兴趣，会不会影响到她上课的效果？ So the question is in English. My daughter is planning to take English Literature Grade 7 class at Linky. And we already got her the book for this, grade 7 literature. But I feel that she's not that interested in that book. I'm not sure whether this will, maybe affect her learning or maybe her interest. Any thoughts on this one? Matt or Teresa?
Teresa, would you care to talk to us about Stardust by Neil Gaiman?
Yeah. So for those of you who are not aware, Neil Gaiman is one of the most famous and most reputable fantasy writing authors. This is one of his best-known works known as Stardust, and it follows the story of a boy named Tristan as he goes through his Bildungsroman, or the hero's journey, to becoming the hero of the story. It's a really good book for those who are starting to kind of gain or gather an interest in Stardust, and it's also for those who are interested just kind of in a bit of harder fiction. Sometimes choosing a book out for a class can be difficult because I always love choosing books that I can teach, but also books that I hope anyways that everyone will love. But I know that that's not something that will happen at times. I love to bring in more than one piece of literature into my classes more specifically. We will be using Stardust as the core text for our class, just to kind of go over everything and to learn what we're doing for our essay writing. However, throughout the class, we will be touching on short stories as well as other poetry. So despite a child maybe not necessarily liking a book that is presented within a class, there is going to be more material that they will definitely like. And this is something that I always love talking to my students about in the beginning of every class, if there is not as much interest in a novel and it's like the majority of people are not interested in it, I'm more than happy to change that because I ultimately want everyone to be invested in something. Stardust was a bit of a risk I did take because not everyone is super into fantasy, which is okay. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I do with all my classes, which is touch on it, see if everyone is interested. If not so, then we can switch it, but I do highly encourage everyone just to kind of give it a little bit of a chance.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
I love this book. I think your grade 7s are also going to love this book. The last thing I want to contribute to this, there will be times when you are assigned a book in school that you do not like. I have had to read many books in school that I do not like. Generally, books that are taught in school unfairly become books that everybody hates. I'm sure Stone Angel is a great book. I hated that book because I was forced to read it by a teacher. The Last of the Mohicans is supposed to be incredible, but to me, in the 11th grade, it was not. It just was not, because it was the thing that I was forced to do. This is a skill. Going through and reading a book that you're not necessarily into or you don't necessarily enjoy is something you will have to do through your entire education career. What I will say about Stardust and the other books that we have chosen is that it is good material. That is something that we can promise. It's good material, you will learn something from it, and our teachers will do their best to find ways to make the book interesting to students. Time and time again, we teach texts like Romeo and Juliet. Everybody hates that book, but I do my best to make it fun. I talk about sword fights, and I don't talk very much about romance because, well, grade 9s don't like romance. It's a little bit too real to them. So we will do our best to help your kids enjoy books. We can't guarantee that we're going to pick a text that everybody necessarily loves, but we're at least going to try. Whereas it always feels like in regular mainstream school that they try to pick the worst book imaginable to force on top of students. So that's my take on this. We're going to do our best. It's not always going to be your favorite book.
All right, thank you both. I'll do a bit of Chinese as well. 我们两位Teresa 和 Matt 两位老师，这个简短的答案就是他们有信心，可以让我们的孩子喜欢上这本书啊，能够调动他们的这种热情和兴趣。当然就是说每一个孩子都有自己的兴趣点啊，我们 这个很难选一本书，然后所有的孩子一下子都很兴奋啊。当然，我们希望能做到这一点啊。但即便是如果你碰到一本书，第一感觉好像这好像不是我的风格的这样的书，其实如果你稍微深入一点啊，那加上我们的老师的这种培训孩子有可能会喜欢，孩子有可能会喜欢。所以每一本书在我们的这个课程当中，我们的选的每一本书应该都是很经典的，都会很适合我们认为那一个年龄阶段同时会超越我们的安省大纲至少1年这样的一个深度的这样的书会进入我们的候选名单所以就是因为安省本身它的大纲，今天Matt也讲过，就是它的整个的英语的大纲其实给孩子带来的包括文学、包括写作部分的能力实际上是不足的这就为什么很多学生在大学申请的时候会发现他整个的文书的这个写作的能力和表达的功力是不够的甚至上大学之后忽然间觉得自己非常非常的英语变成了一个极具挑战，尤其写作变成一个极具挑战的一个科目，其实都跟我们的高中阶段的准备，我们的大纲给孩子们的准备不够有关所以这就是为什么我们的课程，所以大家可以去跟安省大纲去对比，我们至少会比它领先，或者说深度上大概是1年甚至1年以上这样的一个领先的程度所以让孩子去试一下我们的2位老师都很有信心，可以让孩子能够喜欢上这一本书，好吗 ？OK。我们还有没有其他的问题？大家其实可以放开我们，因为这个时间有点晚了，然后有一些家长已经离开了。其实我们可以变成一个更多的是一种讨论了大家可以把话筒打开你说中文，你说英文都可以我们还有几分钟时间，争取9点之前我们结束有没有其他的问题？Any other questions? Just feel free to maybe turn on your microphone and talk, right? So we can have a open discussion here.
我可以说2句吗？
Yeah， 请说，当然可以。
我儿子他是在那个 Grade 11，他那个 IB program， 但他这学期刚刚英语课已经结束了，那下学期他是没有英语课的。那如果我要是让他报这个班，他应该上 Grade 11还是 Grade 12啊？
非常好的问题啊！我先回答你，然后我帮你这个翻译一下，然后听老师怎么说
是
我个人认为他的英语的 IB 的他是 High Level 还是 Standard
Level？Standard
Level。Standard Level，OK，Standard Level 11年级已经上完了，我可能会建议他上12年级。我可能会建议他上12年级，因为12年级的英语有2个功能，第一个功能呢就是说。可以为他的大学申请做一些提前的准备工作。第二一个功能呢，就是说为他下一个学期就12年级的真正的在校的英语的成绩做非常多的这种准备工作。因为您知道，大学申请的时候，安省是要求6门课就是在所有的安省的大学申请6门课，其中1门就是必修的1门课就是英语嘛。那他取的那个英语成绩就是12年级英语。所以这是为什么他
要的是12年级的英语成绩，不是11年的哈。
对，12年级。
OK， 行，好
吗？
那我明白，那就说你们那个12年级的课它是哪一天的？
这个您可以我现在可以给您查一下，然后您可以到我们的那个刚才我发了一个网站，好吗？
你是在你的微信群里发的是吧？
没有，我刚刚就在这个地方就发了一遍，您看见没有？
那我看见了，马上就没了。
那我再发一遍，等一下不好意思。
那发了我怎么能把它保留下来呢？
你就把它 copy paste 下来就行，或者您之后一会儿这个讲座之后，您联系我们的小助手也行。
行，
你有他的微信吗？你有他的微信？对，那你直接联系他，他会帮助你的。
好嘞，
会帮助你的，好吗？
好嘞，好。
那个12年级英语是星期6下午4点半。
这时间还挺好的，谢谢
好，不谢，没问题。
好，非常感谢。
没问题。好，大家还有其他问题吗？Any other questions？
老师你好。
你好，
你好。 我想问一下，就是我们家孩子6年级可以报7、8年级的 writing 吗？然后大概每周的这个作业量大概会有几个小时？就是咱们这个老师教的那个7、8年级的 writing。
非常好的问题哈，我想先多啰嗦一句，然后回答您的问题的。那个我们 writing 是分成2个阶段哈，5、6年级一个阶段，7、8年级以上是一个阶段。那这2个阶段呢，我们的教学的侧重点是不一样。5、6年级呢，我们是叫 passion， 实际上就是写作的愿望和他写作的这种热情。7、8年级开始呢，我们开始的侧重点是 precision， 就是写作的精准度啊，文笔的效率啊。那么如果您的小孩，这个我可以交给您来判断，或者说可以让孩子来试听一下啊，到底他是在 passion 方面需要加强一下，还是说开始已经可以开始在这个精准度方面 precision 方面开始加强，好吗？如果您确定是说我的孩子实际上这个在写作的创作的热情方面没有任何的问题，那我们就可以从 precision 方面开始，好吗？然后我现在帮你问一下 Dr. Hamanda 关于这个作业量的问题啊，稍等。Dr. Hamanda?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. There's a question for you actually. The grade 7, grade 8 writing class, right? The question is how much homework for the students on a weekly basis? Like how many hours are we expecting the students to spend on homework?
Yeah. The group class runs like once a week, during the spring 22 and any other term. So there is a homework every single class. I tend to do something like whenever I give a specific skill when it comes to sentence structures or new grammar rule, we tend to work on it in the class. I give the chance to students to practice it as well. And then I try to broaden the scope a little bit by assigning it as homework. So there is something every single class, but the homework happens to be very practical, straight to the point. We are focusing on shorter structures. Maybe the end of the course itself will feature some attempts at writing paragraphs, but there are many exercises when it comes to grammar coming from SAT grammar. So there are scanned copies with multiple choice that students can do at home as well in terms of homework. So it's not going to be just writing. It's also going to be like a variety of other question types. So you can expect homework every single class.
Yeah. Do you have a rough ballpark in terms of hours expecting the student to spend on the homework?
There are homework assignments that can take something like maybe 10-15 minutes, and there are homework assignments that can take up to 45 minutes, 1 hour sometimes, in terms of like a longer exercise that demands reading and reflecting on the skills they got from the class itself. So anything between 10-15 minutes up to 1 hour.
OK. 那个 Dr. Hamanda 刚刚讲，他说7、8年级其实我们有大量的这个随堂练习这个 homework 就我们说的这个课下的作业呢，就如果你只是想要完成作业，那大概是当然短的作业有的时候10、15分钟就也有长的作业大概有1个小时但是其实我们会建议孩子们不是仅仅完成作业，而是说在这个基础上可以再做更多，比如说 research， 比如说阅读，比如说这个自己的这种更加的定制自己需要的我们老师也会给他更多的建议，就是说除了完成作业之外，他可以花更多的时间因为真正的功夫实际上就是大家自己在课下要花时间课上部分我们毕竟课上部分的时间是有限的，1周只有2个小时，所以大家下来还是希望大家能够花更多的时间，好吗 Okay.
If I can add something, Henry,
Sure, go ahead.
Work excludes the reading homework because we are doing King Lear there as well. So students are going to be reading like specific number of scenes, sometimes acts. So there will be reading homework plus writing homework every single class.
Yeah,就是后面来讲，就是我们会有读的作业，也会有写的作业啊。那刚刚 Matt 在这个对话窗里也写，就是我们整个的英语组，基本上我们给大家的 homework 是在20分钟到1个小时之间啊，就只是完成这个 homework 大概需要那么多时间。当然你自己如果需要更多的深入的这些刚才我们说的阅读啊、调研啊等等，其实我们是鼓励大家可以花更多的时间啊。然后我不知道有没有刚才那位回答您的问题啊，您如果没有完全回答的，您可以在这个打开话筒，您可以继续问啊。有另外一个问题没问题，好，不谢。有另外一个问题就是直接发给我的，说我是一个8年级学生，是一位新移民，在学校英语成绩中居中偏上，请问是需要考虑8年级还是9年级的课程？我个人建议9年级。为什么我讲一下？一个呢，就是你跟我讲他是英语的成绩目前是居中偏上，我认为最好的学习状态是踮着脚往上够着学啊。当然你不要太高，就是完全要站在梯子上学，那个对孩子的压力和挑战太大啊。如果是踮脚可以摸到但是又不是那种唾手可得，我觉得这是最好的学习状态。因为如果是唾手可得，对他来说不构成任何的挑战，所以他的学习的热情和对他的这种帮助都不会特别的大所以踮脚如果能够够到但是又不是很轻易能够够到的情况下，我觉得是最好的从学习效率上来讲，从他的这种学习热情和驱动力上来讲，我觉得都是最好的。所以如果你是8年级，如果在校成绩是居中偏上的话，建议您直接上我们的9年级。我们的9年级坦白讲差不多是公校10年级的水平Okay, there's another question. So we're gonna take maybe the last one, and then we have to wrap this up. The question from Chung, grade 12, how many students per class? I think we have a cap on all English classes, right? We have a cap. The cap is 12, but we are expecting a much smaller class for grade 12, right? So I would say we are expecting somewhere around 5 or 6 students in the class, right? So if you worry about the class size, it shouldn't be an issue, right? For grade 12, we are trying to control the size within 5 or 6 students on that class. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. If you guys have further questions, just feel free to reach out, right? The spring semester starts tomorrow. If you haven't signed up, we encourage you to do so. So if you have now decided on which classes to join, you can simply sign up for a tryout class, right? So give it a try and see whether you like it or not, and then you can decide. All right. 所以就是说，我们的春季课程是明天就开始如果大家还没有注册，那我们这个欢迎大家来注册如果你没有很好的决定说到底哪个班适合我，哪个老师是我可能喜欢的，你可以登记一个试听这是最好的方法。你试听一下，然后你可以试听1个班，你可以试听2个班，你可以试听多个班，然后看哪个班是最适合你的，哪个老师是你最喜欢的，好吗？所以我们的刚刚我把这个网站已经又发了一遍，大家可以在我们的网站上注册课程、注册试听，然后我们的所有的教学管理都在这个网站上大家可以很好的利用这个网站Yeah, Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Matt, Teresa, Dr. Hamanda, and thank you everyone else for being with us for almost, not almost, 2 hours already, for 2 hours tonight. Yeah, hopefully this is the presentation helpful. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Right, I'm gonna type our phone number here. You can call us or maybe email us, right? I'll type the email address as well. So yeah, call us, email us, or maybe WeChat us. There's different ways you can reach out to us, right? Thank you again. Have a great night, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.